What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Moto Fever Media. So today I want to talk about the red cross flag and the issues that arose not only last weekend but have been arising in the last few years. We saw it a little bit with Levi Kitchen and Jordan Smith tangling in Glendale. I feel like at this point it's causing more safety issues than it is really helping, and I do think there's a need for a red cross flag, obviously, when there's a real issue. However, I feel like at this point it's worth readdressing and redesigning the red cross flag to try to better incorporate safety while still giving the riders a chance to really be aware of what they're being asked to do on the track. With that being said, I kind of want to highlight some of the known issues that we're having with the red cross flag, as well as some potential solutions that I've heard, as well as some potential solutions that I have myself. So let's get into it. All right, so first up, I want to highlight some of the known issues we have with the red cross flag. So it seems like every single year, or just about every year, there's at least one issue or controversy with red cross flag penalties. So let's just build a quick rough timeline with the recent red cross flag penalties. So looking back to 2016, Ryan Dungey received a red cross flag penalty, which at the time was the loss of 2 positions as well as an additional 2 championship points on top of those 2 positions. Now that might sound pretty much like exactly what we saw in more recent years with Chase Sexton. However, in this case, it was literally Dungey got docked the position, so he finished the race in first, won the race, then his race win was struck from the record, and he lost his 7 championship points. Now this brought a lot of controversy, and I'm not going to get into all the details, but pretty much it caused a rule change which allows the rider to keep their position as far as their win record or whatever, and keep their win bonus and things like that, saying if they did win, as long as they didn't gain any positions while jumping on the red cross flag, and they would just lose the championship points as a penalty. Now fast forward through the next few years, you have multiple red cross flag penalties where Marvin Musquin got one and he ended up winning the race, but obviously lost his points. But thankfully, to the Dungey rule change, he was able to keep his race win at least. And then further down the road, you had Dylan Ferrandis get one. Even Ken Roxon got one, but he claimed he couldn't even physically see the red cross flag due to another rider blocking the red cross flag from his vision. More recently, you saw Chase Sexton just be completely confused on the rules because they say that after you pass the incident or the downed rider, you can resume racing. However, the lights on the top of the jump override that, so he ended up doubling a jump with lights on it, even though he had passed the actual incident, where he ended up getting that penalty that we all saw, which cost him 7 championship points, but he obviously still ended up being the championship winner that year, so not that it really mattered, but it kind of did at the time. Now add all that up, and then fast forward to a younger rider like Levi Kitchen, who has seen this all throughout the years, and now he has a flashing light on a jump, which is actually a caution light, and he decides, uh-oh, I don't know what to do, I'm just going to roll the jump to be safe, and ends up getting basically almost landed on by Jordan Smith, and not only putting himself in a lot of danger, but ruining Jordan's race. Well, maybe not ruining, but costing him a potential win. We just see a lot of issues when it comes to understanding the red cross flag and being able to properly assess what the riders should be doing as the red cross flag or other warning lights are out on the track. We even saw it with Max Voland in Anaheim 1, where he was being a little bit too timid after passing the downed rider. He kind of continued to roll the straightaway and actually lost a position to Kitchen and Shimoda. So in my opinion, this is the 3rd incident we've had this year as far as red cross flag controversy or just kind of loss in translation or whatever you want to call it. Now granted, they're all isolated incidents and they're all different circumstances, and I don't think you can fix everything, but I think what we saw last weekend in St. Louis was definitely something we can fix. I'm also concerned about the yellow strobe lights being confused with the red strobe lights, but that's a whole nother conversation. So let's just talk about the St. Louis incident specifically. So what we saw in St. Louis was lots of the top riders in the top class jumping on the red cross flag. Now, do you think they did that on purpose? I don't think so. So they were not aware that the red cross flag was even out. Now, you could say they need to be more aware, but these guys are the best in the world, and they're pretty aware. So I'm not sure that you could really put the blame on them in that sense. I think if they could have seen the red cross flag, then they would have seen it. Now, I've heard a lot of potential solutions coming from people like, well, why aren't they waving the red cross flag? No wonder they didn't see it and stuff like that. And I think that, that's worth talking about. But I think at the Flaggers Tower, they're always waving white flags, checkered flags, maybe occasionally a red flag, but that's pretty obvious. Having said that, the red cross flag is mostly white. So what do you think those guys are going to think at the end of a race seeing a mostly white flag waving, they're probably just going to think it's a white flag and they're going to jump the jump anyways. So I don't know that waving the flag would have done anything to help. I did hear Jet kind of yell after the race. He was like, "Why the F weren't they waving it?" And I understand his complaint is like, I'm not going to notice something that's not moving. So I hear you. However, I think if it was waving, it would have just still been missed in that circumstance, at least. Now, I have heard some other better solutions, in my opinion, where, you could add strobe lights to the finish line jump, which I do think they'll probably be doing that. And as well as you could have a flagger on the other side of the finish line jump, which would have worked in this situation. If there was a red cross flag, say on the left-hand side, they would have definitely been able to see it. And if there was a separate flagger, he could have been waving that one as well, which would have drawn more attention to it. However, in my opinion, these are not the best solutions. I think the strobe lights should be added regardless, but I think what we really need here is we need to remove the red cross flag and the caution flag from the finish line tower completely and just not even give the person the option to even have them being out. He should be able to just focus on the race directing flags as far as the white flag, the checkered flag, and also the red flag. And I believe we should have a dedicated flagger below the finish line jump on the track level, well before the finish line lip, with a caution flag, a blue flag, as well as the red cross flag. The reason I think this would be a great solution is because regardless of if there's a turn right before the finish line or if it's just a straightaway leading into the finish line, the riders will have a clear line of sight and opportunity to see whatever flag it is, whether it's a red cross flag, caution flag, or even a blue flag, and they're not going to confuse that with whatever other flags might be on the finish line jump. And in this specific circumstance, the flagger would have been basically standing in the turn on the inside, and he could have had that flag out and waving going into the turn, which would have allowed every rider, including Jet, to know and understand that they need to roll the finish line jump, and they could approach the corner in a way that would allow them to not necessarily have as much speed for the jump, knowing that they're not going to jump it. So say he could just go straight for the inside and protect that inside and just take a slower approach to the lip, knowing he's not going to jump it anyways. I think that would be a much more reasonable solution, something we could easily do. However, I do think adding lights to the finish line lip is also a good solution and probably should be looked at as well. And another thing, with the red cross flag mostly being white, obviously if you see a white flag waving around the track, it's kind of going to tell you that you need to roll the jump, and that's great. But in other circumstances, I think riders have just not seen the flag completely. And so I think it's also worth looking at potentially adding some small LEDs to the perimeter of the flag, or even the little flagpole that they use to wave it. Just illuminate that thing a little bit more, so that way it really draws attention to the riders and it's like, hey, wheels on the ground. And that way the riders can really be aware of the fact that they need to have the wheels on the ground, because I can guarantee you every single rider that knows that they need to have wheels on the ground will have the wheels on the ground. Now, I think there's a whole nother issue as far as when the riders can resume racing that needs to be a little bit more clear. And I think that's a little bit more of something we can debate about as far as whether we need to have a green flag on the track somewhere. I think that'd be logistically really challenging, but I think you'd see less incidences where, like Max Voland was being, I don't want to say taken advantage of, but just overly cautious, causing him to lose positions. That's a whole nother topic, but I don't think it's as much of an issue as long as we can keep everyone safe and keep everyone from getting penalties. That's really what I think we need to try to accomplish here. And I think that would do it. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. That's my solution. Hopefully we can see less red flag penalties, as they do have a pretty big impact on the championship. And realistically, I don't think there's any rider who would intentionally jump on the red cross flag. So we just need to give them the chance to know that there is a red cross flag. But that's really all I have for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Feel free to subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next video.